Amy Matt here, and today is Survivor Series 2001. Now this year was pretty cool. It started off with, well, and then you had the WWE WrestleMania 17 at the Houston Astrodome, which was probably one of two great WrestleManias in the decade to follow. But yeah, and it obviously would have ended in the tragedy of September 11th, 2001. However, let's talk about Survivor Series 2001, and it started off the invasion angle. You had, of course, the beginning of the year, you had Rob Van Dam coming in afterwards. Obviously, you still had Taz and Raven. I'm not sure who else was there. Tajiri, he was there. And then Benoit, Jericho, Jericho, fucking Eddie Guerrero, all those guys were there. Eventually, they all came in. But at the same time, you could have had a lot more people. You could have had, this would have been a great advantage. You know, you thinking about this right now. You have a guy like Triple H, who was eventually, later on, gonna be the champion. You could have had him go up against a guy like Sting, who could have came in reading or watching Sting's interview on a JBL show, and him stating the fact that the only reason he didn't show up was because of things they did to Scott Steiner and Scott Steiner, basically, and a bunch of other guys. So he didn't want to be in that crowd, which I think is complete bullshit, but you missed out. You could have had opportunities. You could have had Goldberg. You could have had NWO. You could have had that involvement in the invasion and the invasion angle. I'm stuttering over my words because this is frustrating when I think about it. You could have had Steve Austin not turn, and then maybe he could face someone like, I don't know. It's weird. But obviously things went differently. It is what it is. So let's start this review. So you had Lance Storm, Just Incredible, and Raven versus Albert, Scotty 2 Hotty, and Spike Dudley. Spike Dudley, of course, being from the ECW, but unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but he went and he joined the team WWF. So it was another one of those switcheroos, I guess. And of course, and then Lance Storm's team won. Although at this point, Lance Storm was a part of the WWF before this whole invasion angle happened, and so was Raven. So they joined their respective ECW, WCW thing. And then you had Christian, who joined the Alliance, turning on Edge, and then of course joining the Alliance, and he was the Intercontinental Champion. He was the European Champion. And he defeated Al Snow, who, of course, we all know as ECW, and of course, lesser known WCW. But at this time, so it was another switchover because he was WWF, and then of course you had Christian, who was a part of the Alliance, and Christian won. So this was 2 for 2 at this point. So then you had another WCW alumni, and William Regal, who defeated Tajiri. Now, Tajiri came in the WWF a little bit earlier. Of course, he was famous for not only New Japan, but he also did ECW. And then, of course, coming to WWE when this whole thing ended, and being William Regal's assistant, but William Regal turned his back on Tajiri and became a part of the Alliance. And of course, you all know Lord Stephen Regal of WCW. So that's actually William's real name. But then you had champion versus champion. It was, I believe, hold on a sec here. I think Edge was the United States champion, and he defeated the Intercontinental champion, Test. And he was the first WWF guy to win. So, and it's kind of ironic, 2 Canadians fighting for the United States champion. And of course, the Intercontinental champion, so Edge won both titles. And then you had the Dudley Boys, who joined the rightful ECW, WCW alliance. They were obviously a part of ECW. This was champion versus champion again. They were the WWF champion, or WWF Tag Team champions, and they faced the Hardy Boys, who were WCW Tag Team champions. I don't know why the ECW take belts weren't around, but that would have been confusion. And this was a steel cage match, which I thought was really cool to see that, but the Dudley Boys won their championships, so they were multiple champions. You had Stacy Keibler, who was on the Dudley Boys side, and Hardy Boys, well, I don't know where Lita went, but this was cool. Then you had a Battle Royal, and it was whoever, if the WWF won, who would be near the Alliance, who of the Alliance would join WWF, I guess, and Test won, so he kept his job. Then you have Women's Championship match. This was a 6-pack challenge for the WWF Women's Championship. This Trish Stratus, Lita, oh there she is, Jacqueline, Mighty Molly Holly, Jazz, and Ivory. And of course your new WWF Women's Champion, Canada's own Trish Stratus, which I thought was cool. And then you get to the main event of the Alliance versus WWF, a Survivor Series style, elimination style. The WWF team was The Rock, Chris Jericho, The Undertaker, Kane, and The Big Show defeated Stone Cold Steve Austin, Rob Van Dam, Kurt Angle, Booker T, and Shane McMahon. Now, we had some issues with The Rock and Chris Jericho. Jericho almost costing the match after kicking The Rock's ass But you also had Booker T and Rob Van Dam having issues. What I don't understand is this whole thing, this whole invasion angle thing. And you know, back in the day, and I know I've said this in my last video that I will post after this. I will post a link. The whole invasion angle was interesting. I think a lot of it has to do with Vince McMahon buying out WCW. I didn't know that he bought out ECW, obviously. So if the Alliance won, I'm not sure what would have happened. Obviously, that I should have known they wouldn't have won. But being the age I was at the time, I mean, even then, they can be a real super fan of that kind of stuff, and I took it even more seriously back then. And I was upset that my man Stone Cold Steve Austin joined the Alliance. It was bad enough he joined the Vince McMahon, but this was a step too far. But in saying that, WWF won. And I don't know why, because a year later, like after WrestleMania 18, which was at the Sky Dome in Toronto, I didn't have to say that, but after that, it slowly changed into WWE. So in that sense, and you still had wrestlers like Rob Van Dam and Lance Storm and all those guys, some of them anyways. And then of course the whole failure of bringing back ECW, which I thought was a shame. I thought it was fucking dumb. But it is what it is now, and then you would have later on Goldberg coming in, and Scott Steiner, which I can actually understand why Sting didn't want to come to WWF, because their career in the WWF WWE was not good. Goldberg, kind of, but well, it could have been better. I'll just say that. And I know Sting got injured, but hopefully comes back. And then it should be the way it should have been this year. Sting versus Undertaker. #. Anyways, that's it. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye.